Tim, are you there?
Hey, Olivario. Hey, yes, just arrived.
Perfect. So if it's okay with you, we can start and make, as we agree, a short introduction, and then the floor is yours.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Bueno. Les quiero dar la bienvenida y agradecerles por participar de este primer encuentro del ciclo Formación e Inteligencia Artificial que organizamos en conjunto desde Arquitectura 3 de la Cátedra Taller Maldonado y de Cátedra Najmías Taller de Proyectos, las dos de la FADU. Como siempre, invito a la audiencia a suscribirse al canal para recibir información actualizada sobre las próximas conferencias de este ciclo y también van a poder participar de la sesión de preguntas y respuestas del final, enriqueciendo el intercambio de ideas a través del chat. La verdad es que estoy súper feliz de poder contar con un invitado muy especial que viene a compartir desinteresadamente su conocimiento y su tiempo con nosotros en un tema de suma actualidad, la inteligencia artificial. A mí la verdad es que me inspira una mezcla de sensaciones encontradas. Tengo miedo, mira admiración que compiten como si fuera una partida de ajedrez, que a veces gana el optimismo, pero muchas otras la desazón. Creo, sin embargo, que es innegable que la inteligencia artificial es una realidad que no debemos ignorar ni evitar, sino que, por el contrario, tenemos que aprender a incorporarla en nuestros procesos de diseño como una herramienta más. Con esto en mente, es que contamos hoy con la presencia de Tim Fu. Tim es un destacado arquitecto canadiense que, además de llevar adelante su propia práctica, también es parte de ZH Code, el grupo de investigación computacional de Zaha Hadid Architects, especializado en diseño algorítmico y proyectos de investigación computacional en todo el mundo. Además, tuvo experiencia como líder de proyecto en IJP Architects, y Tim ha sido reconocido a nivel mundial por su trabajo, presentado en CNN, Art Daily, Design y varios medios más. Tim es un graduado con honores de la Arquitectura Association y dirigió un taller de diseño computacional en el GSD de Harvard. Su exploración continua de la inteligencia artificial en la arquitectura ha llamado la atención global y ha estado trabajando activamente, tanto de manera independiente como desde el estudio de Zaha Hadid, para encontrar maneras de adoptar e incorporar la inteligencia artificial a la práctica arquitectónica. La verdad que estamos súper contentos de tenerlo a Tim hoy con nosotros y esperamos con ansia su presentación. Espero que ustedes también escúchenlo con mucha atención. Tim, thank you very much for your presentation, and we look forward to hear all your ideas.
Great. Thank you so much, Alvario, and thanks for the invitation. Shall I just start then?
Yeah, please.
Right. All right. Screen 2, slideshow. All right. So, architecture in the age of AI. So just to start off, before all the AI stuff, a little bit brief introduction again. I'm sure Professor Olivario has already said it quite well, but just to touch up again, Zaha Hadid Architects is where I work, and the code department is our computational department, where we specialize in computational research, and we help out the entire team with, especially the design team. We work together in solving a lot of computational related problems with architectural design. So in this team, I also do a lot of research on the side. I've worked in other firms, a few other firms prior to this, and I graduated from the Architectural Association in London from the Emerging Technologies branch. And of course, I also enjoy teaching quite a lot in various institutions. So just before the AI stuff, in terms of real project wise, right now, the main project I'm doing is Unicorn Island in Chengdu, where we are managing and developing and almost like an entire city. So a lot of my specialization is specializing in the parametric facades. So that's the type of design that I do in the office. Here we have a lot of towers that requires specialized tool sets in order to rationalize geometry that are very complex, so that it requires the attention of high computational specialization in order to solve. And prior to that, I've also worked on other projects in Dubai, the parametric bridge project, as well as in other places in China. So a lot of what I do is related with computational research. And just to touch up on Zaha Hadid code. So AI is an umbrella term. Prior to last year's, the uprise of the diffusion model, which became very popular recently. Prior to that, AI has been around for quite a while. So here we have a lot of projects done in Zaha Hadid code related to AI, such as the Rafiq Anadol's Architecting the Metaverse with Zaha Hadid Architects, where we utilize AI to, where Rafiq taught the AI to use Zaha Hadid Architects database in order to generate more alternatives. And beyond that, we also have the Mathematics Museum by Zaha Hadid Architects, which studies the force flow, and that's another type of AI as well. And of course, we have things like Bea HQ, which was just released. It was just open last year, and it's a net zero energy type of architecture that is a smart system that utilizes another type of AI that basically governs the entire function of the system. So you can see how diverse AI is prior to the type of AI that we see today, mostly. So as Zaha Hadid code, we like to break down a lot of our studies into digestible elements and components and understand the logic behind its behavior. And so I've deployed that as well with regards to the new AI diffusion models so that we study it systematically. And of course, I also try to relate it with the parametric facade design that I do. So a lot of times just to see what's available for us, like what type of things is possible with these new technologies and how we can contribute to the discourse of design. So yeah, with regards to this type of research, then it comes to my own things, what I've done on the side beyond office research. So my journey with Midjourney. So Midjourney was released, version 3 was released in July 2022. And that's pretty much around the same time I started jumping on. And of course, that was the early phases. It has changed quite a lot. But one of the reasons I really got on, because I saw a lot of people design show early works and tagged such as designed by Zaha Hadid. And I've also had a look at that and just realized that it's quite different from what you would typically expect from Zaha Hadid. So I kind of took it upon myself to do my own research and see how I can try to get closer to what I think from our office ethos is closer to a real Zaha Hadid project. So I started my own research first just by pure exploration. A lot of what I done in version 3 was just at the beginning, just to see what's going on. I think it was quite artistic and I enjoyed it quite a lot, but over time I wanted to really approach realism. So that's when I started going heavy into the research elements. After quite a lot of explorations, I developed some more methodologies in order to achieve more certain realism and resolution of form. So a lot of the times I started to notate and put down the structure of the prompt. So prompt crafting is kind of like one of the main essence of utilizing AI in order to achieve what you want. And of course, during version 3, you can see is this quite crazy results, and it's very difficult to get what you want in the first step. So after that, there's also an extensive guided exploration, if you will. So of course, when you get something in AI, you can, for example, in Midjourney, you're able to iterate over it to produce other alternatives and variations. So here you can see a building on the left that I selected, gone through myriad of options in order to select what I believe is the most resolved in terms of geometry. And this type of approach is something that I've done for every single building that I've experienced trying to make in AI. And of course, finally, when things are not perfect either as an end result, I then deploy what I can manually, such as using Photoshop to post-process, just to really get it to what I believe is an ideal image. So it's kind of like designing the image, designing the final outcome in every means possible, going from prompt crafting to iteration to the final result. And of course, at some point, I started post-processing with DALL-E 2. And this is where it's utilizing DALL-E 2, which is another type of AI, which is able to adjust, fine-tune certain areas. So I found that to be quite interesting, that I can incorporate two types of AI systems in order to achieve what I want. DALL-E 2 is able to insert the input. You can tell in certain areas what to change, and it's able to just resolve it in a more holistic way so that it actually looks consistent. And then afterwards, obviously, post-processing. So at the early phases, my research was kind of like, I guess, showcased just on my Instagram for the most part. I found it to be a very powerful platform in being able to just showcase to the world your own design ethos in a very consistent manner. And so here, with the consistency of the profile curation and with a sense of style, I slowly tried to approach a certain direction. And at that time, I did one image a day just to see which direction it goes. And after a while, the technology also improved very rapidly. We got into the DALL-E 2 being released, which I had my hands on as well, just to try it. But then very quickly, it was surpassed by Midjourney's TES-P, which is a photorealistic version, in August of 2022, followed by Midjourney version 4, which released in November 2022. So it was quite insane how fast everything progressed in such a short time. And during those times, I continued to utilize the same methodologies I used to improve my designs and my drawings over these renders. And eventually, when Parametric Architecture, the platform, has caught up with what I was doing, they released an article from what I wrote. And after that, I started teaching at Parametric Architecture as well. So I think at that point, I started to get more exposure in terms of doing my research. And also been with some interviews on YouTube and certain articles. And at this point, when I'm teaching, I started to really figure out a more advanced way to showcase the thinking that goes behind prompt crafting, because it's typing a bunch of text is the easy part. But the thing is, every text matters and its location matters relative to each other, right? So when you have like a very long text like here about, 10, 12 words, every time you move the text around, the results change. And it's not random. So you don't just input a whole bunch of text and just expect a result. You actually should try to analyze the placement of your text. A certain few texts at the beginning, beautiful Banff Lake HT photography, for example, you have to start picturing what these words work at together if you put them, for example, on Google Images. And then you have to check every local cluster. So kind of like the words that are related to each other, you want them to be closer to each other. So this way, the combination of all those texts slowly morph into like a reverse pyramid shape into the last image, so that you kind of have an idea overall of your control. Like you wouldn't want to put irrelevant text next to each other because they're going to interact in ways that you don't want. So actually, there's quite a lot of thinking and creative, especially using your imagination going on at this phase. So I would say it's extremely demanding in terms of using creativity for this part. So once you become good at doing that prompt crafting, then goes through, again, the iterative process. Some of my designs like this, going from start to finish, you can see can be quite different. And that's just due to the extensive evolution by choosing and curating your process and then adjusting your prompt. So the human element of being able to input what you believe is the right prompt and choosing the right images is the act of using your own intuition to guide your design towards your own results. So despite what a lot of people would say that AI is quite random, I indeed at some point found this system of control. And I kept trying to improve that system. And of course, teaching at PA, I also started creating flowcharts to analyze the actual process of decision-making that is involved. And it can be, in fact, quite complex because you can go back and forth. You could generate a few images and then use that as image prompt at the beginning. And then you have to weigh the image prompts. So actually, it's incredibly complex once you start to utilize all different strategies together. And so things like image weight, for example. You input a few images and then you have a word, and you just put the image weight at different numbers. You can see that the result either is closer to the text and more random, or it is closer to the image and much closer to an easier way to control by using image input. So then comes to a certain point where Midjourney version 5 is released. And sorry, I think the date here is wrong. It's actually March, I believe. Yes, March 2023. So that was like pretty much 2 months ago, or even less than, this final version of Midjourney 5. So recent it is, and so incredibly powerful. I've been using it, and I started giving talks around different places, and just because of a lot of stuff I've been doing, I've been sharing my research around the world in that sense. So just to showcase to you guys the current explorations I've been doing with the latest version. For example, one here is the parametric wall series, which I think is quite strong in showing how accurate and how already resolved the current version of Midjourney is. I think it's far surpassed DALL-E 2 and all the other AI softwares that are trying to compete. So this current version is absolutely finessed, and I think I have yet to find anything even close. And I've been doing a lot of research here, trying to see how form and colors can be spontaneously generated. And then some projects like this, I utilized a lot of intense controls as opposed to the last project. So this is, again, going back to the beginning of what I was trying to do to really catch a glimpse of what I think AI can produce in terms of the Zaha Hadid prompts. What I believe is like a version of the potential further exploration of Zaha Hadid designs that can be explored in different venues. And here's a hotel and interiors. So I think it's quite powerful to really easily showcase some of your concept at a high level without delving into the details. You get the idea of the atmosphere, you get the idea of the space without needing to really design it in such a detail with finite dimensions. So it's a very powerful tool to generate a concept. And then some projects I have, like here, House of Starry Night, they are spawned from, of course, a concept that you would have initially. You don't just randomly prompt these things out. For this particular project, I obviously had an idea. I was like, Starry Night would be amazing as a bedroom interior with night lights. So you kind of have to have that human ideation to be able to have a strong concept to start with. And then you just go through explorations to see what are the potential ways the AI can explore your concept. So with the idea of mixing Van Gogh Starry Night with interior architecture, you kind of see what are the potentials and what are the possibilities. And I found that to be also very satisfying to just explore on your own and get inspiration a lot of the times. And then, of course, things can go urban scale very quickly as well. Beauty of using this AI software is you're not limited to any particular field or limited to whatever your expertise is, or limited to the scale of the project. So much like the same design intuition that I utilized for doing architecture and interior, I've applied it to the urban scale to see what I can conceptualize at an urban level, but still be able to capture the essence of what I believe Zaha Hadid would represent at this level. And then, of course, we scale down to things like just a van design, a product design, or vehicular design. And I think these things are also quite interesting because, every product has its limitations. You have to fulfill the certain functions, but within the realm of its requirements as a product that is functional, you can explore what is free. And AI does do this very effectively. I'm able to explore my personalities, explore your designs and your colors and what you want to showcase. So for me, it's always usually the futurist side of things. I wanted to see and push a future aesthetics into the realm of design. And I'm exploring it from obviously architecture to product. and it's quite expressive. So again, human agency, I think, is a very paramount point to cover, because it's all about how much we can control the AI before it controls us, in a sense. So one of the more recent explorations I've done is a sketch to render, where I believe it is definitely going to reach a point where it will become incredibly powerful. Right now, it's a bit strange because you have to input your drawing, and it's going to reinterpret it, and then you evolve from there. That is a limitation of Midjourney at the moment. I know some of you, if you guys explore other type of AIs like ControlNet, you're able to input and output directly your sketch into the render, but there is no AI software as good as Midjourney right now. So I'm just using the step in order to get some sort of sketch into a render, and it's very quickly. It's about 10-15 steps of iteration to get from just pencil sketches into a fully fledged render. And of course, there is a lack of control still. You're not able to get too much fine detail control, but you get the general energy of the painting, of the drawing. So just to go through the process, I did this one with the PA course, so I can highlight how it works. So once you insert the sketch that you've done by hand, on the right side, you see is what the AI tries to imagine your hand sketches. It learns from your input as a hand sketch, and then it outputs what it thinks it is. And so I go through that several rounds until I finally find the image that I believe represents closest to what my initial sketch was. So this was a bit of the arbitrary moment. You have to really pick what you think is the best, but obviously they all deviate a little bit. But then you just keep this is where you go through the iterative process to try to bring it towards your initial design, but also bring it away from sketch and into render. So here with the newest Midjourney, obviously you can change the prompt as you are evolving it, right? So initially with the sketch, I inserted the sketch and this image came out. So I started evolving the sketch, and I did that initially just by typing in words like chair, photograph of a chair design. Maybe I input the word Zaha Hadid sometimes, but not as much as people think. So a lot of random text, sorry, that's my dog. A lot of random text comes in, comes out, I adjust. So it's a bit of an arbitrary process, but once you find the right words, you see that the color starts to change, it starts to morph, and it's a long process, but then all of a sudden it just becomes real. So kind of like you see the last 3 steps, you just get the right words, and then suddenly it starts to materialize as a finished product. So here on the 14th iteration, the final iteration, managed to create something I believe is more representative of what my initial sketch was. And of course, I also try to bring as much Zaha Hadid aesthetics as possible in the process. And just to talk about another use of the benefit of this process is obviously it takes almost as long as modeling it, right? It's not that efficient. But then one of the extra benefit is being able to explore additional concepts. So on the right here, I started to change the material, change the design with the prompt. So very rapidly, once you have your final generation, you can then explore design. Basically, you can explore materiality and different ways to design in a very rapid way. So I believe this rapid exploration of such design using Midjourney is going to be a very powerful tool to have. And I know that other programs like Stable Diffusion can do this a lot faster, but obviously right now I'm fully on board with Midjourney, and I hope you can see also why I believe that way. So if we talk about the future, the AI Midjourney and most of the other AIs are all pixel based. So they are learning from diffusion models, which is inputting images and diffusing it into pixels, less pixels, and then re-incorporating pixels to imagine new ideas. So everything is pixel based, is 2-dimensional, and it's images. And one of the things that I really try to strive for is understanding the process of how to get that into 3D model and finally into a build project. So these are partially one of the some of the works that I've done where I try to rationalize it myself. So here I will try to share with you guys a bit of a video.
I imaged a grasshopper.
Whoops. I'll show this one after. I'm going to show the other one first. Yeah, so I did this one over TikTok. So I think I used the help of a little bit of an audio narrator, but let's see if that works. Okay, great. Yeah, so this is fully with using Rhino Grasshopper. And as you can see, it's just about figuring out repeatable rules and just quickly deploying them as fast as possible by using mathematic rules. And a lot of the times you use charts and graphs, very intuitive ways and strategies. Math and numbers, points and data, these things just can come very quickly. And again, yeah, flower blossoms. So just thinking about the actual logic behind a lot of these geometries that AI has produced, and find ways to really produce a result that you feel has a consistent language that is also mathematically driven and not at all random in that sense. So basically, kind of like the essence of a lot of what I try to do is sifting through the chaos of what the AI produces and then finding the logic, kind of like the backbone, so here you see, for example, the baseline geometry. Like a lot of this difficulties is coming from when the AI is unsure of what it is. And that's where human intuition has to take over for now, just as the AI is still advancing at the moment. But eventually, perhaps this process is redundant, but that's not the case at the moment. So for now, I'm going through these complex process to do this type of work. Here on the left, you see that's actually a Midjourney generation on version 4. So it's already very resolved. Like you can see the depth of the geometry. You can see the interweaving. Of course, things don't make sense and they clutter up. But then the places that are close and have clear design, you can see exactly how you are supposed to parametrically model that. So here on the right is actually a Photoshop on top of a V-Ray render, which is done in modeled in Rhino and Grasshopper as well. So I guess that's where I can show this particular one.
I imaged a grasshopper.
Yeah, let me mute that guy. Yeah, so here again, start with the produce the kind of like the systems that require for you to produce the fine geometries and the meshing and the interweaving of the structures. This all goes really quickly, but obviously I had to speed this up to showcase something very quickly. But you can see the logic behind this is very rational, and you just render that thing very quickly to see what it looks like. And I think this is as close as I got for like, half a day's work. So I didn't want to dive too much time into doing this too realistically, because a lot of geometries that AI does produce are not following a specific rhythm or structure. So I'd have to do more odd things to the script in order to produce it. So I didn't think that that was ideal at the moment. So again, I think just a bit of conclusion. I think the current paradigm shift right now we're seeing is that we are going from the human ideation and human modeling of design, and then you're getting CGI visual representation. So there's like a before and after process. It's quite linear right now. But then I think the paradigm shift is coming to a point where now it's human and machine ideation. I put them together because I think it's neither purely machine nor purely human. I think we're all co-creators now when we're talking about this AI machine ideation, because as of all the parameters you see me using to control the AI, that's the human part. But then the AI produces results that are just often chaotic and also sometimes spontaneous, and they can inspire the human. So there's an internal already dialogue between the human and the machine right at the ideation phase. So when we're moving that ideation to CGI, it comes out directly, and that informs the human as well. So all the stuff happens more instantaneously. And then at the current moment, we're modeling and rationalizing this manually, as what I've just showcased. So that's something that we're doing manually, but I'm hoping that's no longer going to be the case, just because of how fast AI is coming. And we know that there are already early programs that are going directly from text to 3D. That's very new right now. It's at its infancy, and I'm not so far impressed by the level of quality that that type of AI is generating. But just to know how fast AI has already advanced, that I believe for sure at some point we're going to be able to prompt directly 3D elements and just have a 3D model right away. And potentially even a BIM model that you can just put into Revit and go straight to construction docs. So all these things are very high potential of happening just due to how much I believe in AI just by seeing the progress. There's an oncoming text to image revolution, as I've just described. We're going from prompt craft, like initially right now, we're going from prompt crafting, and it gives you image representation and you model in 3D. And so, of course, finally is prompt crafting directly to image representation and 3D model. So we're waiting for this phase to really take off. And I believe that's going to be the next revolution. But right now, just by pumping out visuals from text, that's already a huge revolution in terms of what it's doing to us in the design field. And I could say with Zaha Hadid ourselves, we're also working quite extensively with AI at the moment. And there's no stopping in sight. I think we're only going to incorporate AI more and more. And of course, I've done work with ChatGPT as well. So just to conclude, here's an image made with Midjourney and a little nice quote by ChatGPT as well. So I'll read this a little bit. AI is not yet able to fully replicate the creativity and intuition of a human designer. So while AI can assist in the design process, it is still important for human designers to be involved in the overall creative process. So I think there's an importance in what we do as designers and creators when we're using applications like AI, where the human element is the essence of our agency and the control. And the next stage of this revolution is about how all of us, all of you guys, will be able to really utilize this AI to your own benefit, incorporate your own agency into the decision-making process. Because if you don't, the AI will start controlling you and you won't be needed as a designer in that sense, you know? So don't want to scare you guys, but I think as AI takes over a lot of these elements, it's taking over a lot of the process of what we do. It opens the door for other processes, such as the ones I've shown you. And that's where we have more control. And also because it's such a new field, all of you guys, when you're researching into it, a lot of things what you do will be your first time and probably everyone's first time. So it's opening like a Pandora's box to possibilities. And I've already been impressed by a lot of my students to see what they've already created in terms of process and methodologies, basically inventing methodologies from a program that just started with no precedent whatsoever. It is an ocean right now, completely unexplored. So I think the people who will really capitalize on these assets of AI, both language model like ChatGPT and diffusion models like Midjourney, these guys are going to be the ones that's going to dominate the future of the next generation of design. So I conclude here. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Tim. If it's okay with you, we open up for questions. I must confess that way before this, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, actually, I didn't sleep for about 1 year thinking about artificial intelligence. I was very, very worried. Then my son was born and the priorities were different. You know, you don't sleep, but because of the little guy. But at the end, I still have this mixed feeling about the excitement of the new technology and all the doors and all the opportunities it presents, but also all the doubts. But every new technology happens that. But in this case, I'm sorry, but I was also very interested in illustration, like for stories, no architectures, and all the illustrators are very against the artificial intelligence. They said they're stealing their style, etc. And I find in a way interesting that your approach, but most of architects, we are not thinking about the AI stealing our style, but rather like a complement of our work. But in a whole other area is this. And I read a paper in this time that I didn't sleep, that the last jobs to be taken were going to be the creatives one, no? But now I can see that's wrong. And how is it that the artificial intelligence is like your partner or is the architect? I mean, when a client comes to you, like in a small, for a house, they might come with the drawing of the artificial intelligence of what they want, because prompting is open to everyone. And if we are not just relegate to just being the builders, how you imagine this cooperation, not with the AI and you, but the client, AI, and you as the designer?
Yeah, you touched on a very interesting point, because there is a what you call also a paradigm shift in client and architect relationship, right? Because of course, it's so accessible, this AI software. Clients can come and already give you images, which is like a nightmare for designers and architects, right? But at the same time, it does open a door to a new way of dialoguing with the client. I think essentially it's changing the role of a lot of architects in that sense, where if you are, to be provided with some sort of vision already, then you're the executor. And as architect, we've always been the executors, right? It's not a simple process of just creating visuals. Visuals, sometimes we even delegate that to render companies. For us architects, right, we've always, we're the people that are trying to bridge the concept to the fabrication, and everything in between we try to resolve and close the loop. So as the beginning part pushes inward, such as being already clients having images and a more detailed concept, then we are more delegated towards the realization side, which is an incredibly important task, which, much like what I did with just rationalizing AI images, requires a lot of the human intuition and understanding of architecture and construction in order to execute. So that also requires years of experience of knowing materiality, knowing construction, feasibility. These things, of course, can potentially be taken over by AI as well as some other points in the future. But my current understanding is the human is the bridge. It's still bridging together the concept from the final product. And as long as it's not a linear line directly, humans will always be needed to kind of be at the pit stop of transferring the concept idea into the execution. Because even if it is very linear, even if ChatGPT knows how to do all the stuff and give you beautiful like construction drawings right from a concept you wrote by text, you still need the human to, again, did what I did, evolve the design, kind of iterate, guide the design, understand what the client actually wants emotionally and internally better than any AI would, and then go through a more artistic process than a technical process. Artistic being giving a bunch of options and you're still pushing the AI towards feasibility, but aesthetics and artistry in your own regards. So I just think, because I feel personally that I always have to incorporate so much creativity in what I'm doing, then I believe that validates the human agency that's involved in doing this. And I think just from what I've done with my successes on Instagram, And also my students, I've seen a myriad of different level of skills of being able to generate artistic imagery, much like you given a camera to a bunch of photographers, a bunch of students, and everyone has a different level of outputting a result. So it's highly human in this process. And with that, I think, yeah, so far, I don't foresee ourselves as being replaced in that sense, but we are shifting our responsibilities left and right based on what the machine can be capable of. So hopefully more creative tasks for us and less automatic and linear tasks is more for the AI instead.
There's a lot of questions open in the YouTube channel, but Felipe has a question here, and then I'm going to read a couple of them.
Hi, team. Pleasure to meet you. First of all, thank you for being here. And it's more, it's less than a question and more of a thought, of an idea. While I was listening to you and afterwards Oliverio. Like when you shown us the example in which you took that image from the AI and you model it into a structure mesh, woody mesh, I don't know the material, but that's kind of the point of my thinking. Like as I see architecture or our role in the thing, getting the detail of how that mesh is materialized in the reality, it's kind of the hardest part. And your role, like modeling and like giving a volume to what you see in an image, is like a continuation of the aesthetic understanding of it, but not the technical way of developing that. That's what you do in Zaha's study, right? Like you take that images or pieces and you materialize the package, as you said at the beginning of your exposure here. So what I think is like there's a big gap between resolving the volume and understanding how you make it reality and touching the ground and being a real space for human beings.
Yes, because right now what I've shown is pretty much the rationalization of the geometry. So that's just basically interpreting the 2D into 3D on a very formal level, if you will. But you're right. Of course, that's where the human experience comes in, right? If you have a construction consultation and you understand the feasibility and local materiality, what is needed, who are the construction workers, how many people are doing this, what type of nuts and bolts is required, then of course that type of stuff is advanced level information that you will have to slowly make that accessible into your design. And that's kind of like at the current level where we're doing it as humans. But of course, I'm not going to say that that's going to remain a human domain, because things like ChatGPT and its starting capabilities of general or artificial general intelligence is probably already able to somewhat resolve some of these questions we have about materializing to such a level where we're able to produce it. And the AI, if it's open to the internet, such as like Bing AI, it's able to access all the data, call the construction workers. It's kind of frightening how much it's able to do in such a short time, much more successfully than a project manager can. So while I say that this is currently a human endeavor, I'm not going to assume that's going to stay that way forever, as I've seen already people using, like a jailbroken version of ChatGPT to call and order pizza, generate voices and just be able to interact with the real world for you completely. So I have no doubt it's just becoming super powerful. And we're living in a very strange timeline, because what we're seeing right now today is such an early phase of the artificial general intelligence, and it's already capable of so much, and it's frightening. But all those points that you touched on, I do think they will be slowly addressed by the artificial intelligence sooner or later. So there are points. Yeah.
There are a few questions. I will read it for you. One here from Michelle says, you kept talking about how we humans have control over the AI in order for the AI not to control us. But as we keep on using it, it keeps on learning about us. What is your opinion about on how to control this?
Learn about us. I don't know how to interpret this one, because Midjourney doesn't learn from us. It doesn't have data retention, Midjourney.
For now. For now.
But if it did, it will probably be for the better. Because if I am behaving a certain way where I'm selecting only certain images, for example, only select images that are not blurry. If AGI understand that I don't like blurry images just by purely my selection, then it's able to tailor towards that. Much like how a YouTube algorithm that you would watch YouTube on always recommends things that you already probably enjoy. Then everybody in their society start, coalescing in their own ecosystem because of this algorithm. So I think that's like definitely a potential, a good feature. Well, good or bad feature, I'm not going to say, but if it does exist, let the AI tell me what I like, if I can do something better, more efficiently, because the AI will guide me towards it, I'm all for it. So I would just say, like, in general, as a general statement, if the AI shows more autonomy and more agency for certain reasons, check the reasons first before you say no. If sometimes you feel you lose control, is it for the better or for the worse? Just because you lose control doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. Sometimes when you run an office, for example, in architecture, and you have like 20 interns doing a huge amount of designs and concept phase, you're not really losing control. You know what I'm saying? You're creating opportunities for things to arise in terms of concept. It's enriching to have that level of creativity and freedom. And if this creativity comes from the AI, all the power to it, because in the end, you are the curator, or you're the boss of your own company for that matter. You get to choose whether this satisfies your quota or not. So the AI is going to present you more options. You just optioneer. It's in general always better to have more than less. So I think the control is within you if you allow yourself to choose. So if you don't choose, you let AI do the first thing you design, then that's on you. But for now, I think it's an incredibly human endeavor at the moment to experience AI, ironically. Yeah.
Good. Daniela Peralta has this question, and I will add a twist to it. She says, do you think architecture will be changed by this AI? That some studios, that some offices will be strongly inspired or just copy the image the AI gives them? And I add to this, and this paper I read about these Israelis, and they were saying that they foresee the future of AI and architecture, that like big offices, let's say Zaha, will hold the royalties for the style, and small offices will just buy the package of, I want to make architecture in the style of and that architect.
You need to link me the article. That sounds horrible.
Right. It is terrifying, more than horrible, but I will send it to you. When I read that, I stopped sleeping for a year. I told you already. But we have this, Daniela, you are quite optimistic. I'm very calm right now after hearing you.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of copywriting style is a ridiculous concept, and this goes even for the greater AI art community. First of all, legally speaking, you cannot copyright styles, right? And a lot of the arguments against AI in terms of the art community is saying the same thing, like, it's not giving us royalty for copying our style, but many people, for example, copy Zaha Hadid's style. And it's ironic because in our office, one of our ethos is trying to figure out how to copy our own style, you know? Like that's what we do as Zaha Hadid Architects. She's not here anymore. Or it's all just a bunch of people in the office trying to figure out what Zaha Hadid would do. And that's just how it works. And you know, Zaha Hadid obviously shouldn't even have a copyright over a style of pure form and fluidity. This is so general, so fundamental to the psyche of our brain, and it's hardwired for us to enjoy beautiful curves, and these forms follow golden ratio or Fibonacci sequence are hardwired into our brains for us to understand that these are beautiful forms. So I don't think obviously you can copyright, you can't claim ownership of a certain formalist style. That would be ludicrous. If you live in a society where styles are copyrighted, nobody would get anywhere, because I think fundamentally we're all culture, right? All the stuff that are arisen from design goes through every era of design, from, you know, contemporary postmodern to now. Like everything is on the backbone of existing human collective culture. So everything is more or less a copy of the other, if you will, but a inspiration of the last style. Like the, you know, Renaissance wouldn't be there if it wasn't for classical or Baroque, and much as postmodernism wouldn't be there if it wasn't for modernism. Zaha Hadid wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the prior predecessors. So it's a continuum of human culture. So I would absolutely appeal against any decision to be able to copyright a style.
It's really, really interesting because, as I told you, everybody, I was with this illustration thing. And if you enter to the illustrators forum, the professionals ones, they are outraged about artificial intelligence. Like actually, like the robot is copying them and stealing from them. And I quite share your view on this, that it's like even when you are in the office and you read a book and you said, let's go for this image as inspiration or to think about this kind of solution. ¿Hay alguien más acá en el Zoom que quiera hacer alguna pregunta? Así voy pasando del YouTube al Zoom.
Yes, can I make a question? Right. Hi team. I like to ask you if you consider AI as like the new industrial revolution. Like it could be ion 100 years ago, or like internet 30 years ago. You like the same comparison?
So you asked how much of a revolution I believe AI really is.
Yes,
right now. That's a good question. Yeah, I'm right now on board to believe that this is the biggest thing that will happen to us in this epoch. I think future history will mark a point where, you know how we have like BC and AD, there will be a point, I believe, where it's pre-artificial intelligence and post-artificial intelligence. And I read books from like Neil Leach, and I talk with him and other, theorists and AI specialists. And we always have this consensus that AI was always bound to take over and start a revolution. We just don't know when. And so far, we realize that it's happening sooner than we expected. Because the thing with AI is like there's also approaching singularity, right? There's this idea that the AI is able to at some point get artificial general intelligence, or is able to produce better AI models, which is starting already. It can produce better AI model version of itself and then keep repeating. And then you go through, like, it starts to like exponentially increase because you reach the point of singularity. And then it just goes far beyond human control. AI is a black box. This black box is able to create a bigger black box, a more complex one. And so this just cascades into a realm of completely just unexplored territory in where we are in human history. It starts to get a little more conspiracy theorist-ish if I keep talking about this, because I have just random speculations, but we're all just speculating here because it's a very strange time we're living in. And like a lot of the times I lose sleep too. I just see like version 3, the next day is like version 4, and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like sometimes I look in awe and I'm lost for words as the level of advancements we're experiencing right now. It is at such a rapid pace, and I feel like, yeah, I am doing well in trying to capitalize on being part of this process, but I almost feel like I wish I have more time to even do more, because there's so many unexplored domains that I already have on my mind. Like I have a list of ideas what to do, and I never complete them because I always get more ideas, just because the AI has opened a door to so many possibilities. Like the other day I was thinking, sketch to render, let's try that. And then right the next day I'm like, I can't, no, I gotta do like try ChatGPT with architecture. And so like there's so many things to do and so little time. As I start doing them, something else will come up. And this technology is advancing so rapidly that they call for the thing to pause, right, for like 6 months. And that just goes to show, I think we're living in a very weird time. That's as much as I can say. Anything else is speculations, but it's definitely going to be the revolution that we'll talk about in history books.
Totally. I'd like to, sorry, I'd like to make another question. Well, I think that we are used to think of the most brilliant minds of our generations, the one who that can imagine or can bring new ideas or new solutions to the same problems that are in architecture and in all fields. So now that we have a EA, and the ideas might be like not generated by humans, where do you think that we will think of a brilliant mind or the brilliant people will eradicate? Like I don't know if I was clear with the question.
Sorry, repeat people, a
bit. No, if people will be brilliant by thinking new ideas or by like knowing how to manage the EA, sorry.
More brilliant. Human intelligence quotient is the constant. I think it's just the tools you use. Some are more effective, some are less effective. Intelligent person can use a tool and do more intelligent things with it, and vice versa. But the results can be more intelligent, you can say. The person is the person, but yeah, it's his capability or her capability can be augmented by the use of AI, much like, for example, a famous example, right? Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue a while ago, long time ago. That was the very first AI triumph over humans. But you know what they've discovered after that? They've discovered that a chess grandmaster, with the help of AI, can beat AI alone. So I think that is a testament to the potential of human AI collaboration, co-creation. And I think I'm hoping that that's the era we're ushering, not full AI autonomy, but the era of human AI as a joint entity. So I think that is the intelligence. Intelligence of the human is fixed, right, at whatever that level that person is. Intelligence of the AI is fixed at whatever the technology is at the time. And then we have the collective intelligence as a collaborative. So I think that's where the future can lie. Yeah.
I want to introduce a question more for me and for my colleagues than for perhaps the students, which is, with all these things that you already know and you have been thinking and you have been learning, how do you think, or what do you think that we should be teaching to the new generations of future architects? What I mean is, it's easy for us to teach the same way as we were taught, more or less. But this is like a Copernicus change. So it's so different what's coming that even we are perhaps not prepared to. But I don't mean to be like we do Grasshopper seminar, we introduce your talk, etc. But I mean like in the whole curricula, you know, it should be more technical, should be more construction oriented, should be, on the other hand, much more conceptual, because there's where the future goes. What should be, in your view, the curricula, or where you would point the most substantial changes we as teachers have to do, not on how to teach, how to craft a prompt, you know, more philosophical, if you want to.
Right.
Sorry,
So
it's a complex question, but I'm
no,
very.
no, it's a wonderful question. It's a question about regarding the future of the pedagogy, right? Of how we teach. I think actually that's a good point to touch on, because we're not just with AI, but most technologies, we're reaching a more era of autonomy, where self-learning has become more and more predominant. From the old days, it's teacher and lecturer to student, a linear exchange of information, whereas at some point we're starting to evolve into a forum of idea sharing. And so far, you know, what you guys do of inviting me or any other guests with new concept and ideas in you know, the domain that is unexplored, I think that's already like one of the main things that is correct, and it should be done, just to expose students to all the new possibilities. So it's, I think perhaps the role of a university is more like a forum. I see more as a platform for allowing students to get together, exchange ideas, but also for the university to welcome more specialists with their own domain of research, in order to just open up potential for students to assess as a source of data and knowledge, so that we can then assess ourselves as students how to go in which direction. Because yeah, we're reaching in this age where autonomy is increasingly important, and you don't want to teach linear, you don't want to do linear teaching in essence, because if we're talking about it in this paradigm of AI, that's what you give to robots. That's what you give to AIs. The easier stuff, the stuff that repeats, the stuff you can teach in linear information exchange, are the first jobs that will be replaced by AI, right? If you want to teach a student how to fix a car or how to do plumbing, perhaps these things are going to be one of the things that will be replaced by AI if we have robot automation, because it's very straightforward. But then the exchange of ideas, the understanding of how to control AI, or where design as a concept will go in the future, these are high concept level things which will requires the human agency and intuition. So that type of jobs that requires this level of thinking, I think will become more predominant in our research, and will become more predominant for students to go into. So yeah, I don't know if I'm rambling a bit, but I think it's just about giving autonomy, as universities should, right? My university at Architectural Association, thankfully, was all about autonomy, and I really got into what I was inspired to do the whole time. And just speaking from my own experience, understanding what your strengths are, what your interests are, and pursuing them, especially in the face of new technology and new things that come up, that's where the essence lies in knowledge, just going into the unknown. So just for that very reason, I think not teaching directly, but providing information is where it can be very fruitful.
Okay. I don't know if it's okay with you. We agree in about an hour. We already took a few more minutes.
Oh, not a problem. It's just the evening for me.
I don't know if alguno quiere hacer alguna otra pregunta. Bueno, a ver en YouTube.
No más preguntas.
No más preguntas. No, I just want a quick, a short conclusion, which is that when I introduced you, it was quite sincere, that not quite, no, a lot of sincerity in that this kind of chess game about being optimistic and being or horrified about what's going to happen. And I'm really thankful for you, not only for sharing your time and your knowledge, but also to incorporate a positive view on how this can evolve, because I think also that the more beyond these regulations that are asking or stopping the AI for 6 months, etc. I think at the end, everything comes up to ends in how you use the tool. And so if people that are on the border of the knowledge are using it in such a productive and positive way as you are, it's very inspiring, because it's like having tools that are going to be used for good, and not, let's say, like this paper, I will share it, I promise, about like big offices trademarking their styles, and just any client being able to buy, you know, like a Spotify of architecture. And so it's really inspiring to see that the people that are thinking this in these big offices are not thinking on this dystopic future, but rather in a way to use the tool in a good way, which is going to ultimately becoming very good tools. Hopefully, everything is hopefully.
Hopefully.
But thank you very much. For me, it was a wonderful presentation. And we are a very large school. I was commenting to you, and it's very difficult for us many times to have a guest like you. And I thank you for the opportunity and your time and your generosity.
No, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Olivario, and thanks to everybody.
I will send you the link, and goodbye. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you very much. See you guys.
Thank you.